Good afternoon, everybody. Colin, Tansley and Peter Taylor with Risk of Watchdogs Live.
Good afternoon, everybody, and good afternoon, Colin.
Afternoon, Peter. So we're a little bit out of skink today. We're not this on a Wednesday, but there were things that got in the way, weren't there? So we're just going to
absolutely
go along with it. It doesn't make a great difference. Okay, so we're going to change things around a little bit and got a few things to talk about. So
just to remind everybody what the purpose of the Risk Watchdogs live casts is a quick 10 minutes or so. And what we're looking to do is to share knowledge, to raise awareness, and to help really with preventing all types of financial crime. And this week we're going to have a slight change, and Colin's going to go first and talk to us about the dark web.
Super. Thank you, Peter. Yeah, we're sort of switching things around a little bit to keep us on our toes. So in the Cyber Bites this Monday, I mentioned about US carrier T-Mobile being hacked and a load of records appearing on the dark web for sale. So I thought I'd just take a look on the dark web, and it's one of those places, I don't know about you, that it fascinates me, that it's a bit like walking down one of those sort of backstreet markets and looking for stuff and seeing what's on sale and just getting intelligence, really. So I spent a couple of hours on there on Monday, I think it was. It was Monday afternoon. Just looking around to see what I could see. I couldn't find the forum that was mentioned because when you search on the dark web with their various browsers and search engines, with their various search engines, it's not anywhere like Google. It's very hit and miss. So you've often got to go there. Often when I talk about this in training, you've got to go there with a purpose or know the onion URL, and I didn't. So I was floundering a little bit, but I did find one or two bits and pieces, and I thought I'd just share them with you just to give an indication of just how easy it is for these people to put stuff up and sell it. So there's a couple of screenshots. I've redacted any mention of any people or the people that are selling. I'm not advertising for them, but it just really gives you an idea. And there's loads of it. I went to a couple of sites. There was one place in particular. It was just full of all sorts of data. So this was just an example of a T-Mobile account. It's up for sale at $88. You wouldn't pay in dollars, you pay with a Bitcoin. That's how they operate down there. You can see you've got the account name, you have the full address, telephone number, bill delivery options, etc. So these sorts of things.
It's interesting to see they've got a discount going there as well, Colin.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so they do. I mean, these websites, they operate very, very similarly to your Amazon and your eBay. It's like an online marketplace, and you've even got reviews from people, buyers, whether they're real or not. But it gives that appearance that it gives that. I think it gives a look of legitimacy to anybody visiting it in a sense, albeit they're often selling things they shouldn't be selling. So that was one example, and there's loads of these things. I could find out, PayPal accounts, credit cards, driving licenses, ID cards, all sorts of stuff. If you wanted to set up a criminal enterprise, this is where you come. And then you mentioned before in a previous Risk Watchdogs about fools, and I think you put it on your scam watch, didn't you? So this just caught my eye, actually. Bank accounts with verified fools, which fools is the full whack, isn't it? It's the full package if you want to take over something.
Yeah, like it's short for full details with a Z on the end. So it's so it's even using legitimate hacker type conversation.
But you can see, and this was just one sort of bar in the window, really. So bank accounts with verified fools, you got options out $1,000 US, obviously paid in Bitcoin, $500 US and $250. So the numbers would go down depending on what you want to pay. Digital delivery, well, why would it be anything else? And they ship worldwide. And then you'd click on that to view the offer. And if you were so minded and you wanted to do this, you would have to create an account. You'd have to transact in Bitcoin. And again, is it fraud? Well, who knows? Nobody's going to go marching into a police station and say, "I've ordered these fools accounts online, and they're not turned up. Can you investigate, officer?" So that's that's just an insight into the dark web. I could spend hours on there just giving examples of it, but it's just like there are things on the dark web that are of interest to certain groups of people. They're not necessarily criminal. There's obviously paedophilia, child abuse images, but this stuff seems to dominate in terms of identity fraud and false certificates for all sorts of things. And the police do have difficulty in law enforcement.
Yeah, it's evolved a lot now, hasn't it, as well? If you go back a few years ago, you'd have lots of sort of, high volume transactions and a low fee. People moan then that they'd end up taking over an account that didn't actually have any money in it or wasn't credit worthy. So they've added value now where you can actually have a credit check done on the person, and everything else. But again, they seem to have become a lot more financially driven with it now. And in the, so the more you pay, the better, quality, the better type of account that you're going to actually take over.
Yeah, criminal business. Okay, and then it's worth mentioning that Chrome, the Google Chrome browser, has had some sort of security flaw that's been identified by a researcher, I believe. So if you are using Chrome, please make sure that your version is up to date. That's the most up-to-date version, where it says there should be 92.0.4515.159. That's the official one. You can go to that, the URL there, Chrome://settings help, and you should see that. Normally in Chrome, certainly on a Mac, I don't know about Windows, but you get an indication about update. It goes green, amber, and red. Up in the on a Mac, it comes up in the right-hand corner. I can say I don't know about Windows, but updates are important. They've identified a flaw. That's the fix. If you don't fix it, then you are vulnerable, and somebody get into your system through your browser potentially. So please update them. It doesn't take more than a couple of seconds. And if you're worried about losing your various tabs, it's pretty good because it relaunches them. So because it retains the history. All right, that's it from me, Peter. Over to you, my friend. I'll just get this. There we go.
Okay, well, and the thing I wanted to say today is there was a picture that I saw on Twitter, which was from a few years ago, and it just simply stated that hackers are 159 days ahead of you. And that's not just legitimate hackers, that refers to criminal hackers as well. And now, having been in the counter fraud industry, I find that we do seem to be 6 to 9 months ahead on intelligence and what's going on before it hits the kind of organisations to distribute alerts, to their members. I won't name them so I don't upset them. But there's a lot of really good stuff that comes out. But it does tend to be around about 6 to 9 months out of date. The big one, I think, at the moment that's not being mentioned too much because everybody's still in the COVID frenzy, is the identity and false identities are. It's almost like I'm stating the obvious here, but it really is coming into play more and more throughout 2021. And it will be through 2022. For the criminals, a lot of the COVID stimulus has gone that they were tapping into. So they're not going to sit down and say, "Oh well, we'll take a 20% drop in income this year." Far from it. They're looking to beat what they did last year by 20 to 40% again, and they're doing that by putting the price up. As we've seen with ransoms. But they're now really using every angle they can on false identities, and synthetic identities are coming into play. So what I want to say, and I will keep it simple, and this is about where you are on the curve. If you interact with customers who are using devices such as laptops or smartphones or whatever, and you have a system of fraud abuse rules, if you've got device and ISP location detection, geolocation and language, VPN detection, email and social media verification and phone matching, then you might think that you're doing really well. Well, the truth of the matter is you've actually caught up on 2015. The criminals have been working around this since then. Now, if you haven't got these and you are interacting with the public, then you are really you are really at risk, and your business is at serious risk. If you are in retail, insurance, any form of credit, banking, sales, car sales and things like that. So you must have that in place, albeit, as I say, there's an elite that will work around them. It does catch a hell of a lot of fraudsters. If you actually want to get to 2021, the big thing that one of the other big things that's happening is the use of the smartphone and the increasing use of the smartphone, targeting of younger people, some of whom have smartphones and no longer have laptops or computers other than at work, but they don't have home computers because they do everything on the smartphone now. And we have to think about that. And there are systems that you can use that will actually detect that a SIM has been swapped. Talked about SIM swap, I think it was last week, and you'll certainly find it in some of the scam watches that I put out on LinkedIn. But they can tell that a SIM has been swapped. They can tell if the device is a stolen device. If somebody's using a stolen device, then they're probably going to be a fraudster. You've also got to be thinking about alerts. As Colin's just shown here, if that was T-Mobile. Are T-Mobile tracking the dark web to see where their customers are at risk? Are you doing that for your business? If you've got a brand and you've been established and you're making money, they will know about you. And then it's also about what are you doing in relation to intervention. So is somebody from your company phoning somebody up, or you're dropping an email to say, you failed our fraud rules or whatever? But how scientific is that? How well trained is the person that's actually doing it? And last but not least, if you've got a fraud team of any sort, what case management tools are you using? Because remember, the ultimate aim with any fraud investigation is the ability to be able to go to court. And the last thing you want to do is to go to court and lose. So it's things like disclosure rules, audit trails, and effective case management. But most of all with these devices, if you are a fraud investigator, a fraud researcher, or a fraud analyst, it can be quite a dark occupation. So we need to make it as efficient and effective for the people that are actually doing this for a living, and to give them the right tools to do the job. Otherwise, we'll end up with a botched job.
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, though, it is worth investing that sort of time, effort, and money if you're really serious about keeping customers safe and keeping your business safe, isn't it?
Yeah, well, people have got to realise that it isn't a cost centre; it's a savings centre. And it'll save you money and it'll protect your reputation, and that will keep your customer base.
And I think customers are very wise to this now. I think that if they're getting wise all the time, they can even get over their data. They want to know you're going to look after it and take care of it. And I think lots of institutions that have suffered data breaches have seen people vote with their feet, don't they?
Yeah.
So excellent. That was really interesting. That and I the analysis stuff. I'm big on that. The education, it's all things we offer as well, isn't it? You think about the fraud assessment, the cyber risk assessment, it's all there, we can help.
It isn't rocket science, but you just kind of got to know what you're doing.
Absolutely, yeah. And, there's, as we've said many times, wisdom, it comes with many years of experience, that's what you need.
Yeah, and practice, we've done it lots of times.
Yeah, and often got it, and I think, one thing I would say is, getting it wrong is part of the learning process as well, isn't it? We've got it wrong before in our years, so we understand where it can go wrong.
Yeah.
Excellent, super. All right, excellent stuff. So we can help with risk assessments, training, face-to-face e-learning, online workshops, which are very in vogue at the moment, and obviously there to offer our consultancy and help in that regard as well. So thank you very much, Peter. Really good stuff.
Thank you, Colin.
Thanks, everybody.
Let's be careful out there.
Absolutely, I forgot that. We've got another slide for that one. There we go. Be careful out there. So we'll be back same time, same channel next week, probably Wednesday, I think.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.